We're out here at one of the main yards. Flip it around for you. Fall was officially a week ago, or almost a week ago. I think as of tomorrow, it'll have been a week here. And so I'm just out doing a check. I know it's been about a month since I last posted. Since then, I have been going through and doing actually another mite treatment. I had some formic that was getting ready to expire that I wanted to use up. And so I had checked, one or two of my hives that had a lot of dead mites on the bottom of one of them. Keep in mind, all these hives had received an Apogard treatment in mid-June, mid-early June. And so, it hasn't really been that long since they received it, but, it just feels like gone are the days where you could get away with doing 2 mite treatments in a year. I mean, maybe some people are able to do that and that's awesome, but I kind of find 3 is the minimum. And honestly, most of the time I'm doing 4 mite treatments almost every quarter. So this treatment that they just received, which again was Formic Pro, was put on 14 days ago. So all my yards received the 14-day Formic Pro treatment. And I'm gonna check on them. As you can see, the entrances are open. They're not reduced down. And we are going to check on the status of them. They're definitely busy working something, and it's most likely the goldenrod that has been in full swing here in this part of Georgia for at least the past couple weeks. In fact, here's actually some goldenrod over here. Not very much. So every now and again you can find some. But yeah, I just wanted to check on these. I've got my wasp traps out right now. The bees are definitely bringing in nectar, probably from goldenrod, but if not, when I check these supers, I'm going to feed any of them that seem light with a little bit of syrup. I made a 1-to-1 batch of syrup right here because we really only have, a couple weeks, hopefully, to get some feed on the ones that need it before going into the winter or getting ready for the winter when they'll stop taking liquid feed. And so the time is kind of now to, boost your colony stores if they're going to be struggling. So, at this point, guys, if you have hives that are light, you really do have the rest of this month, at least here in the southeast, to put on some weight on them. Otherwise, there's a really good chance they might not make it. So, another thing to be aware of this time of the year is hornets. I definitely, right when I got to this yard earlier, I saw a hornet. I couldn't tell what it was. It actually looked like a cicada killer, but from what I've read, cicada killers do not prey on honeybees, but that's what this looked like. It most likely was just, a European hornet. It's a really big one or something else, but I watched it come all the way down, fly right in front of this hive right here. The bees were coming out to attack it. It basically snatched one and flew off with it up into the tree, to eat it. So, they've had their entrances kind of open for a bit, so hopefully I'm going to get them back secured so they feel a little bit more defensible, because we are in wasp season. Our beetles and our wax moths are kind of going away, which is awesome because they were miserable for me this year, especially in this yard if you've watched my previous videos. But we are in the wasps trying to get really nectar. I know I said I saw that one grab a honeybee. They're not really after protein as far as I understand. I think that's more of a spring thing. They are after the nectar, and they will rob a hive out pretty quickly and kill the bees in the process of robbing it if they're not defendable. So that's why I wanted to get this formic treatment on as quickly as possible, especially when I saw some mites. And that way, now we can just focus on feeding. So I'm gonna put this on a time lapse. I'm gonna do some checks and I'll stop the video if anything is important to show. Show you all that. All this you see right here, this was not liquid feed. This is already capped honey from most likely goldenrod from just over the past few weeks, because I haven't fed these bees in, again, since early September. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not impossible for some of this to have been the nectar that they got at the beginning of the month, but I just remember the last time I was in here 2 weeks ago, this top super did not have all that much in it. So they are putting some in. But like I said, this is all, I don't see nectar here. This is all straight honey. So I'm gonna try to check one more while I'm out here, see if I see any fresh nectar, because that'll tell me if the nectar, if the goldenrod is still producing or if it's done. Saw a few hive beetles when I was in here. I only smashed 2. There weren't many. You know, I've got these oil traps, which I'm not a fan of, up on the top here, but had to knock them back somehow. Let's check one more. Yeah, this doesn't have anything in it. All right, tell. One hive beetle hiding in the bottom. Smash that one real quick. Gone. We'll keep checking other hives. I'm gonna give this one a little bit of syrup feed just so they can fill up this top box. But yeah, that's actually looking a lot better than I would have thought. Since I'm going to be putting these entrance reducers back on, it's really hard to tell. I'm going to try to zoom in on this. Like I said, these all received Formic Pro. You see all this right here? All this pile of debris, these are all dead mites. All of them. I mean, there's probably 50, 60 dead mites right in this whole little pile. Again, apologize for the camera, but it just shows how important it is that even when you treat, you know, not that even long ago, that how quickly the mite population can rebuild back up. All of this. Like I said, I feel like gone are the days where you could get away with 2 treatments. So, they're bringing in some pollen, probably from the goldenrod right now. Just wanted to share that. I thought that was an interesting observation, and shows the effectiveness of Formic, especially this time of the year. So I'm going to get them closed up and keep working down the line and keep feeding them and keep seeing where these hives are standing at going into the fall. This hive right here was really bringing in the nectar. This top box, this is actually too big for this time of the year. I just have this top box on because there's an internal feeder that I was using. This box is going to be coming off at the end of the month. There are a few blank frames in there to take up space, but I really need to condense it down. One thing I just wanted to show as I'm putting on these entrance reducers is, again, during Formic, obviously this is opened up so that way there's ventilation. You know, pretty soon I'm going to be reducing down to the small hole right there, but they are really, I mean, like, the amount of nectar I saw coming in from goldenrod was pretty impressive. I thought it'd be done, but it looked relatively fresh, or fresher. And I mean, look at how much pollen these ladies are bringing in right now. Just kind of like hold it still for a second, just let you watch. I mean, you've got yellow pollen, you've got white pollen coming in. I don't know what the white pollen would be. If you know what that would be here in the southeast, comment below. Very curious, but it's a lot of white pollen, just as much as the yellow. But anyways, the second I reduced this down to just a small opening, it was a traffic jam. So, you know, we're gonna reduce this down to the little hole here by the end of the month, as in by the end of October. But for the time being, let's not prevent a traffic jam. let them do their thing. Next visit, we can go to smaller hole. So just wanted to show that, but pretty cool to see the bees bringing everything in. Just wanted to share something with y'all. This hive has been pretty decent, I would say, most of the year. As I was going through it, just doing a quick check on how Formic was going for it. Definitely noticed some dead mites on the bottom, but I don't know if this Formic, at least on this hive, caused us to lose our queen. Because if you look right here, I'm gonna try to gently point it out, you have a supersedure cell right here. See that? So I'm not seeing any sign of a queen in here. The bees are acting very normal. They're not freaking out like normally I'll see when they don't have a queen. But they have one that looks like is on the way. This is a very bad time of the year for you to lose a queen. That could mean certain death for this hive. And in fact, I'm not gonna hold my breath on this one making it now. There's not many drones. I have actually seen a few drones over the past 2 weeks, which was rare because all of August I couldn't find any drones. And so the chances of that queen flying out and finding a drone to mate with are very low, plus all the predators, the wasps, you know, you got spiders out there, you know, nests, like you got a lot of things, dragonflies, you got a lot of stuff that's going against the bees, specifically a queen trying to get mated. So I'm not gonna hold my breath on this one. I'm gonna have to set very low expectations. But I just wanted to share that, you know, when you're doing your checks, just make that realization of, you know, hey, if you don't get a mated queen, which in this case, if I don't see signs of a queen on my next visit, I'm probably gonna have to combine this hive. So, just something I wanted to share. I'm gonna still give these guys some sugar water because, again, their population is low and it doesn't really look like they're bringing in a whole lot of stuff that's fresh. But again, they're acting very calm. They're not behaving erratically. Actually, I take that back. There's some fresh nectar right there. So they are bringing in some stuff. Just thought that was interesting. It's unfortunate, but we'll just have to monitor and come back in a bit, see where they stand. So. All right, that about does it for an update. Like I said, I've got 2 other yards to check, which will probably be similar. Like I said, super happy to see the goldenrod producing definitely some extra nectar. A little disappointed at the end of my inspection. I know I pointed out how that hive looked like it had either lost its queen and it has a supersedure in there. There were a lot of beetles. I hope that by reducing down that entrance that they can get them under control, because this one, I'm gonna be honest, folks, I don't think this one's gonna make it either. That one's super risky, but man, the beetles have just been brutal, and this one was inundated with them. Even though there's Swiffer sheets, there's oil traps, you know, everything you can name to catch them, and there was plenty of ones that were caught and killed in those traps. It's just, there is just so many that just keep taking over. And like I said, this yard, just once it get caught, it's been downhill for it ever since. So it's definitely a lesson learned for next year. Hoping that stops, considering we're about to get into October. Beetles should be slowing down, but there's a good chance on my next visit I'm probably going to come out here in at least 7 days, just because of those 2 hives. I might come out prepared to combine them. I hate to do that, but again, we're too late in the season to be playing around with anything. And if that's going to save some bees or save some resources, I'd rather do that than just let them die. So this one was doing okay. It wasn't great either, but it was way better than those 2. And so who knows? Like I said, definitely gonna have to come out here in a week's time, which is unfortunate, but just is what it is. So just wanted to update you guys with that. You know, hopefully you guys have had better success with mite treatments going into the fall or feeding, and hopefully you haven't lost any queens like I just did with those 2 hives. So like I said, that I might not have mentioned it, but I didn't even see evidence of a queen in that, and that might be why the beetles started to take it over. They were bumping with bees, probably packed full of them when I was here the last time 2 weeks ago, and guessing Formic Pro caused some issues for these two, despite the ventilation. The temperatures were good. Wasn't worried about doing two strips in them, but it's just something you have to. That's just one of the risks of Formic Pro. Even though you knock the mites back, you run the risk of queen loss. So something I'm gonna be considering changing up in the future for my treatments. So, all right, y'all, stay safe. Have a good, going into your fall. Take care of your bees, and I'll talk to you on the next one.